footage on Doomsday caught on camera.
Oh my God!
A man trapped in a violent twister comes face to face with death. A raging flood destroys everything in its path.
She better get out of the car because she's going to get killed.
What happens when the ground opens up and the earth shakes to its core?
I have covered so many earthquakes, but this one was a whopper.
Waves of terror are unleashed on the cruise ship from hell.
The scariest moment for me was when that ship lifted. I'm like, this is falling apart. I think the world is ending.
And even more jaw-dropping weather phenomena that'll make you thank God it didn't happen to you. Imagine vacationing on a luxury cruise, basking in the gorgeous views, relaxing on the deck, having the time of your life, when suddenly, out of nowhere, the ship sails right into a bomb cyclone. As you and thousands of passengers are tossed around like toys, the seas wage war from all sides. The ship takes on water, and panic turns to mayhem. Could this voyage be, oh my God, your last? January 2nd, 2018. The Bahamas. Passengers aboard the Norwegian Breakaway are enjoying some fun in the sun on a week-long cruise that departed from New York City.
My name's Ashley DeRoos. My brother Kevin DeRoos filmed all the footage for the cruise ship videos. My family and I, we actually do this quite often. We'll go on a cruise ship for the Christmas holidays. Our destination was to Florida, the Bahamas, and then the last excursion was the Norwegian private islands, which is around Bahamas area.
It's smooth sailing for the first few days, but once they arrive at those private islands, something is amiss.
We were waiting in line to get off the ship because they were letting people off the boat onto little, smaller boats to bring us to the island. And they were like, we have to cancel the entire excursion because the waves were getting too strong for the smaller boats to bring people off.
Oh yeah, look at those waves.
At that point, we were just like pulling out our camera, filming it. We did not expect what was coming.
No one did. And as the day wore on, things went from unnerving to flat out terrifying.
Later in the evening was when we started to see the bigger waves, and it wasn't until midnight was when we went through the bomb cyclone. We didn't really know what was happening. I guess it was the few people who had gotten internet and were like, we're going through a bomb cyclone. Oh my God. We were like, what is a bomb cyclone? That sounds terrifying.
We're talking about an area low pressure when a storm and the pressure drops more than 24 millibars in a 24-hour period. It strengthens so fast, it's basically an area low pressure on steroids.
And what that does is it creates a weather pattern that is very destructive, and it can be very deadly for any ships caught in the path of the bomb cyclone.
It's reaching stalled course, and the seas are building up as well. And we ask you to obey all the orders from the crew to avoid using open decks.
I noticed the ship rocking a lot more than usual because we were trying to get to our table in our heels and we couldn't keep our balance. And it was around dinner time was when I noticed the waves hitting our window. We were like, we've never seen waves hit up to the 6th deck before.
What floor then? No. 6.
Oh my God.
Around midnight was when we went down the stairs and we stepped in water.
Oh.
And we can just see a stream of water just coming through.
Oh, that's not good.
Water coming out from the ceiling and like through the elevator shaft.
Oh, it's leaking.
You could hear glass just shattering. There was picture frames falling off the walls. It was like nothing we've ever seen before. We were just like, what is happening?
At this point, you're thinking you're on the Titanic.
It looked like the ship was sinking, like we were going under.
Well, in the Old Testament, the sea is a symbol of chaos. And one of the reasons in the creation story that God divides the waters is his control over chaos. So you have this sense of great chaos and terror and drama.
All you could hear from if you went near the doors was that loud, high-pitched wind howling noise. And I just remember being like, is this door gonna break because of how strong the winds were?
That's powerful wind.
So with this bomb cyclone, it looks like winds are swirling at 50, 60, maybe even more miles per hour. And in some cases, in the most intense bomb cyclones, it can be equivalent to a low-end hurricane.
And this ship is tilting, we're talking close to 10 degrees. At this point, anything that isn't tied down could become a lethal projectile. And that had to be absolutely terrifying for the folks on board.
The ship continues to fight its way back up the eastern seaboard, with many passengers now in panic mode.
There was a lot of people just sitting and just waiting and worried for their life. I did notice people praying. I did notice people just sitting in silence. I'll never forget, like, I remember seeing a family sitting at the bottom of the staircase. Like, they had so much fear on their face. They were so terrified. The scariest moment for me was when that ship lifted and you just felt that bang. I'm like, this is falling apart. The world is ending.
Here's the weight.
Oh my God.
In that moment, you do feel helpless. So it did have that doomsday feeling.
Ashley had no idea if the ship was going to survive,
We were actually terrified for our lives.
and passengers wondered if this would be their last night on Earth.
The next day, we could see what damage was done. You would just see chairs, the pool chairs, like flipped over, almost like falling off the ship. Railings outside were broken, light fixtures were broken, signs were broken. And to know that we went through, like, we survived that night, I was like, we're gonna make it. That was when I started to feel hope that we were gonna get to New York okay.
We're calling our guests with green, line, and yellow.
Once the ship finally docked, we noticed that the entire side of the ship was covered in ice and snow.
Whoa, that's a lot of ice.
We just felt like we were survivors of this storm. Now it's like, oh, we made it.
Although Ashley and her family survived the cruise from hell, they were left badly shaken.
Proceed to our disembarkation line on deck number 7.
It was so rocky for like 3 days that when we got off the ship, I could still feel that rockiness.
But one thing will never go away: the traumatic memories of her near brush with death.
Going back to it, obviously it does bring back those memories of fear I felt when I was in that moment. But I feel so much better because I know I survived this.
Oh my God.
Chris!
Coming up,
It's coming toward us!
a tornado hell-bent on destruction.
Oh my God.
And
Everything is bad!
wildfires straight from Dante's Inferno.
Some may wonder how Apartments.com has helped more renters find their place than any other site by digitally upgrading every one of our employees physically. Ooh. Now, everybody at Apartments.com can and does give 110%. Apartments.com, the most popular place to find a place.
I'm a busy single mom, and the flexibility of app-based driving works for my family. I could go out there and make money, and I can still see my daughter. The Sacramento politicians passed a new law making it illegal to work as independent contractors. And that's going to force the shutdown of app-based services here. We need Prop 22. 22 protects our work as independent contractors. It will save hundreds of thousands of jobs. Please vote yes on 22.
This year's been tough, but I don't know, it's given me a lot of time to learn new skills through the internet.
I've been joining more classes during lockdown. I taught myself how to play guitar online.
I'm doing an internship.
I created a small nonprofit foundation.
So when people ask,
how is schoolwork going to be turned in?
How will I continue studying?
How are we going to do this online?
I feel like I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready for anything.
This isn't dry food or wet food. It's not burnt brown pellets. The farmer's dog makes it simple to feed your dog real food. It's real meat and veggies. Freshly made, developed with vets, delivered right to your door. That's why dog lovers are choosing the farmer's dog. A smarter, healthier pet food. Delivered. Visit tryfarmersdog.com and get 50% off your first box of food.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be trapped inside a tornado? To be caught in its raw fury and feel its awesome power firsthand? Winds crashing at nearly 200 miles an hour. Debris flying past your head.
Leave that door so I can get in! Leave that door so I can get in!
And now you begin to wonder
Oh my God!
if you'll become its next victim.
Holy
November 17th, 2013, in Washington, Illinois. A tornado outbreak in the Midwestern U.S. is underway and has invaded Tazewell County. From his backyard, Chris Lancaster records an ominous twister in the distance.
Look flying, Mandy. Look flying.
I got it.
Get in the house! Now! Get in the house! Get her in the basement and kennel them.
My name is Chris Lancaster. I was living in Washington, Illinois on an EF4 tornado come through. I grabbed my phone, was outside talking to my neighbors, and that's where the video started at.
Chris! It's coming toward us! I'm going with my baby.
Go with the babies.
Oh my God.
Go.
My babies.
Go.
Yeah.
Leave that door so I can get in. Leave that door so I can get in.
Chris's family all take shelter in a concrete safe room in the basement, while Chris and his oldest son, Cherokee, watch from their back patio in awe.
Look at all the bro! Woo!
That's when the funnel cloud went from a small guy.
Oh my God!
And it just kept growing bigger and bigger and bigger.
Holy!
And it just kept coming to me and coming to me.
Look at this, bud! You ready to run with me, okay? You ready to run with me, buddy?
There's only one thing you can do with one of these tornadoes, and that is hide.
Some of these can move as fast as 70 miles per hour, and that's not enough time to get out of the way. You gotta get out of Dodge.
You ready to run with me, buddy?
Cherokee is ready to run now and takes refuge inside with the rest of the family. But his father refuses to leave just yet.
Oh my God!
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life, but also the most scariest thing I've ever been in my life. I think as it hit people's house close to me, that's when I was like, well, I better get to the basement. Felt like it was the end of the world. It sounded like a freight train, just like a Amtrak. Going, whoa! It was pretty wicked.
For an EF4 tornado, we have winds between 166 and 200 miles per hour. This tornado had winds up to 190 miles per hour. So in this case, he's trying to get in the shelter, but it's hard to get there because it's almost like they're being sucked from a vacuum.
There was so much debris, insulation, wood, you name it, flying through the air. I don't know what part of it I was in or not.
Chris is in the eye of the storm. And as he battles for survival, suddenly someone rescues him. It's his son, Cherokee.
Hey, come on.
Well, I dove down the stairs and Cherokee just grabbed my arm and pulled me around the corner to the concrete safe room. I really don't know, but it was just something tremendous. That could have been the last chance.
Chris, come on.
Chris, we're okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
There was no power. Being in a pitch dark room where Couldn't see nothing.
Oh. What happened, Chris? Oh. Where did it hit you?
Chris has been hit in the head by flying debris, but thankfully he's okay. The big question is, why did he wait so long to take cover?
Leave that door so I can get in.
Truthfully, the reason I stayed out there so long, I was mesmerized by it, and it just kept me there. I was caught in the moment. Like, holy cow, look at all that debris flying. Wow, there goes a car. Wow, there goes that house.
Look at all the bro.
Tornadoes are mysterious, dangerous occurrences. We look at them with wonder. We look at them with the appropriate amount of fear. The logical thing would be to run to safety, but he seemed to be locked in place.
What we saw with Chris here, I almost wonder if to some extent it kind of felt surreal, like this isn't really happening to him, but rather something that he's observing with even a sense of awe and kind of amazement of what he was actually witnessing.
It's kind of hard to pull yourself away, but you can hear his wife saying, "Hello, Chris, it's time to get down here." She was doing the right thing. She was in the basement.
Miraculously, the disaster spared Chris and his family. The house was not so lucky.
This is what my house looks like after a tornado came through.
All the stuff we purchased when we moved there, and just everything was gone.
I need all the help I can get, guys. I need all my brothers come and help me, please.
When you look out and the things that you've worked so hard for in your life suddenly seem to be gone, and it looks like a bomb went off, how do we find our way forward in something like that?
Chris and his family left Washington and started over, though he's well aware he cheated death by mere seconds.
Multiple times I saw my life flash before my eyes. Thought I would be in heaven with my grandparents and my dad, or my kids would be without a father, but he's left me here one more time for some reason. I'm here on God's time. I'm not here on my time.
I think people who survive natural disasters, the inclination is to recognize what really matters in terms of still having life, still having family and friends, and that home, that car, that technology can be replaced.
It's just gratitude, and you're grateful that you're alive, and it just highlights your gratitude for the gift of life.
Today I would do things a lot different, take shelter. Mother Nature is no joke to mess with. She's a hell of a monster. I just recommend anybody nowadays take cover and don't do what I did.
Oh my God! Holy!
Fortunately, I'm still here today to talk about this, and I still have all my kids, and life is beautiful.
Coming up, raging floods barrel through a small town. And the earth quakes with fury. Will anyone survive?
Proposition 15 increases property taxes $11 billion a year, raising rents on small business. And they admit homeowners are next. As higher property taxes push our costs up, family businesses will go under. Unemployment and income inequality will get worse. Our worst recession isn't the time for the biggest property tax hike ever. No on 15.
Awaken your awesome with a Delta Intuition 2-in-1 shower. See what Delta can do.
A flash flood is one of the deadliest climate hazards Mother Nature keeps in her arsenal of doom. And when she unleashes it, you better pray you're on high ground and out of harm's way. But what if you found yourself caught in the middle of a raging flood? Be prepared to fight for your life. July 30th, 2016, Ellicott City, Maryland. As a summer day winds down in this quaint river town, heavy rains begin to fall.
It was pounding down rain. I walked out onto my porch and looked across at a fellow business owner, and we were looking at each other like, wow, we've never seen it rain like this.
By dusk, code red. A severe flash flood. Main Street is now a raging river.
Oh my God.
And local shop owner David Dempster is about to make a terrifying discovery.
I walked out to the front of the street and started filming the cars that were coming, and one of the cars was a black VW Bug, and there was a screaming woman inside.
That woman's name is Jamie Knight.
And Jason Barnes, my next door neighbor from All Time Toys, he got out there, and this woman didn't want to get out of the car. And Jason went down, boom, out of the frame. I thought he was a goner.
I am the guy who went out into the water to try to help the lady in the Volkswagen Bug. I could actually see there was a woman in the driver's seat looking frantic. I just emptied out what little was in my pockets, and if you look at the bottom corner of the video, you'll see a trash can fly by. That's what made me lose my footing, because that thing was just flying down the hill.
I mean, this water is going fast. It's moving at maybe 25, 30 miles an hour. It's a steep hill.
This is so incredibly dangerous, not just for Jamie, but also Jason. Flash flooding is the #1 weather-related killer. We're talking more than tornadoes, avalanches, hurricanes combined. Flash flooding, it is deadly.
I ended up going down the hill probably about 50 to 75 feet. Probably only was 5-10 seconds I was gone, but felt like an eternity. The water was over my head, and it was brown murkiness, and one of my shoes shot right off my foot, and it's like, okay, where does this ride end?
But can Jason get back to Jamie before her car gets swept away? Miraculously, he does.
We all formed a human chain, and I didn't even think about it. I just kept the camera rolling.
I didn't know it was going to work, but felt like it had a chance. I remember her saying, I can't swim and I can't touch the ground. I think the shock of the situation had the best of her.
I was thinking that she better get out of the car, because that car's going to wash down Main Street and she's going to get killed.
I can't imagine what was going through Jamie's mind. You know, actually I can. Absolute terror. She's trapped in a car where the water is rising rapidly, and she had to make a life or death decision because she knew if she stayed in that car, she was likely going to drown.
Once I got to the car, I decided to help her get out of the car. Fortunately, she was extremely light. She was able to grab Johnny's hands, and that's when he was able to grab her, and we just all kind of shot in all at once.
Unfortunately for her, a car is the absolute last place you want to be when a flood hits. You need to get out of your vehicle and up to high ground, because just a very, very small amount of flood water is strong enough to pick up and move an entire vehicle downstream.
Within a few hours, the flood tapers off.
That's when the water started to recede and the full scope of the damage really sunk in. The water was going through these buildings. And you're like, oh, this is huge. It wasn't until I got home about 2 in the morning that I could start feeling the wounds and everything. And the next day it was very difficult to walk.
He could have easily been killed. And to really risk your life for a complete stranger, hero, flat out.
I never felt comfortable with the term hero because It's nice to get appreciation, but you don't do something like that for the appreciation. Life is life, and if you can help someone continue living, you only get one go around.
Coming up,
Everything is bad!
welcome to hell on Earth.
Dad!
And one of the most destructive plagues in history is back for revenge.
What if there was a membership that gave us the time to celebrate the things that connect all of us?
Fire. A chemical reaction that is as mysterious as it is deadly. But when it's surrounding you, at night, it's hell on Earth.
Dad!
And if vicious wildfires threaten to incinerate your home,
What can I do?
you'll be faced with two options.
Oh no!
Escape the firestorm
Everything is bad!
or die trying. December 30th, 2019, in Australia. Since July, record-shattering temperatures combined with a severe drought and strong winds have sparked massive bushfires along the southeast coast of the continent. But in the small town of Gungura, the McDonald family is praying the fires will somehow pass them by.
We were just kind of feeling calm, like, the fire actually isn't as bad as what they're saying. But we knew the fire had been coming closer, and we'd been checking the wind patterns online ourselves. We knew that it was blowing towards us. On 30th December, that was the day that we had been warned about.
Whoa!
So waking up, I sort of had an expectation that we were likely to see fire that day. By the afternoon, the sky was completely orange.
That's flame.
In no time at all, the wind had blown it all around, and just the whole mountain was on fire.
Which means those scorching flames are headed directly for the McDonald residence.
Oh wow, there's another one.
While the rest of the family has already evacuated, 19-year-old India and her father, Sean, attempt the unthinkable, to defend their house by fighting the bushfires themselves.
It was an easy decision for me because I had my dad there keeping me calm. We have a fire bunker, and we just had the right amount of gear to feel as though we'd be safe.
It's amazing that she was able to do this, but I can't stress enough, do not try this yourself. Battling a fire is super dangerous. These fires, they come fast and they come furious and they have a mind of their own. And the next thing you know, you're trapped with nowhere to go.
But India is confident because her father has been a volunteer firefighter for the past 20 years.
So we had face masks, gloves, boots. We also had goggles to protect our eyes from the smoke. We had fire hoses, and that was my source of water for the front of the house.
But will that be enough? By evening, the firestorm is upon them.
As it got closer, it just made the sky go pitch black, like it was midnight, and it was only 6 in the evening.
Dad!
The whole mountain was on fire. It was pretty much surrounding us.
Coming this way! What can I do? Yeah?
We did our best to just keep the house wet so that no embers were able to ignite. The wind at the beginning was really, really strong.
Oh,
And it almost felt like it was flying in every direction because the embers were just going absolutely everywhere. It was like a massive ember attack.
If you had to paint a picture of HELL, this is what it would look like. You don't see anything else other than the orange and the yellow glow and the flames just kind of dancing around.
It really feels like the world is ending because you don't see anything but just flames.
The smoke was extremely thick and just, it was really hard because you have to run around in it and breathe it in, and I wasn't sure how much smoke it would take to make someone pass out.
The relentless flames threatened to engulf the house. And before long, the sheds behind India's home are now ablaze.
Everything behind that is bad! Everything is bad!
I can't imagine what this girl India must have been feeling. I can tell you what the temperature might have been like. We're talking anywhere from about 1,400 to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you add in the smoke inhalation, just burning your lungs. Can you imagine trying to save your home when you're essentially in an oven times 10?
For several hours, father and daughter battle the insurmountable odds. How will they both survive? It's now morning. India and her father have been battling the blaze through their darkest night.
Whoa.
But they are alive, and their house is still standing.
Okay, it's 7:20. We saved our house.
Having that house being built by my dad, it's quite a special place. And that was the only thing that we were trying to save.
I found that video very inspiring. For her to have the presence of mind to defend her house, turn the water in the fire, really live through hell, and to film it was pretty amazing.
For her as a woman, showing such strength in the face of something so incredibly frightening, it's a really beautiful picture of how powerful a human being can be.
But their achievement is bittersweet, as India and her father soon observed the mass destruction around them.
Our town, after the fire, just looked like a post-apocalyptic town. It was burnt so incredibly badly. It's really hard to explain that feeling, but it was intense.
Would India do it again? Yes, but only if her father is by her side.
Surviving that, I just felt empowered, but I wouldn't have stayed if I didn't have my dad there, who was experienced.
What can I do?
It's probably got to be one of the things I'm most proudest of. But that was definitely the most terrifying night of my life.
Coming up, the earth opens up and wreaks doomsday-level destruction.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
What if you drove an SUV that paid attention, even when you didn't? Like the Hyundai Kona, the first car in its class that monitors steering and lane position in order to alert tired or distracted drivers. Driver Attention Warning from Hyundai, the brand with more 2020 IIHS Top Safety Awards than Honda or Toyota.
Now get the 2020 Kona with 3 years or 36,000 miles, complimentary maintenance, plus America's best warranty. Only from Hyundai.
Earthquake. Just the word conjures up images of chaos. Violent tremors, collapsed buildings, people running for their lives with no escape. An earthquake can also trigger other natural disasters, like tsunamis and landslides, which lead to more destruction. And the only thing more terrifying than all that is when it happens to you. November 30th, 2018, Anchorage, Alaska. It's 8:29 a.m. local time, and before the sun rises, people across the city are just starting their day. For work, for school, just a regular Friday morning in Alaska. In the Rogers Park neighborhood, Jennifer and Tony Skilja and their 4-year-old daughter Sophia are in the middle of their usual routine.
I was doing my makeup, getting ready for the day in our bathroom upstairs, and Tony and Sophia were downstairs at our dining table, I think coloring.
Yeah, we were coloring, and I think we were doing like arts and crafts and drawings.
And then, suddenly, the tremors begin. Caught on their home security cameras, you can see Tony immediately pick up Sophia and race out the front door. Jennifer is right behind them as she rushes downstairs and outside to reunite with her family.
There's like a sixth sense, I want to say, or a combination of senses that makes you move really fast.
I realized the entire ground was shaking. I was just like, I gotta get out of here.
I could hear her screaming.
It felt like the stairs were gonna cave in, and there's a big chandelier above our stairs. I thought I was gonna fall on my head.
The earthquake is frightening because there's no way to prepare psychologically for it. It is terrifying.
When the earthquake hit, it feels like the world is ending. There's no other way to describe it. All I remember is being so scared.
And they had every reason to be. Because the earthquake they just experienced was a massive one, measuring 7.0 on the Richter scale.
I have covered so many earthquakes, and we're talking strong ones, but this one was a whopper.
While the Skilja family was terrified by the shaking ground, the sound of the earthquake is something they will never forget.
I had no idea that earthquakes can be so loud.
Honestly, it sounds like when the washer's stuck on that shaking spin cycle, and it's like a megaphone of that.
So earthquakes happen very quickly, but at the beginning of an earthquake, you may hear that low pitch, like a rumbling or rumbling.
Those first seismic waves, we call them the P waves, they are actually sound waves. So what you're literally hearing, the seismic waves come out of the earth and propagate through the air.
Those sound waves are what first alerted Tony to spring into action.
But the dad instincts were great. He grabbed the child, but the problem is he went outside. That is the wrong thing to do.
The main thing we suggest is drop, cover, and hold on. Dive under something like a heavy dining room table. Or for the office, dive underneath a desk. Hold on to the legs of it.
We got a lot of criticism for going outside as not being the safest thing, but we felt like there's more stuff in the house that can fall on you, whereas outside it's a little bit more open space.
When the house is shaking, no matter what anyone says, you do not want to stay in that house. It just does not feel right. It feels like it's gonna come down on you.
Imagine being a parent, you've got a little child here, and you're thinking, what do I do?
I was just thinking about getting to my daughter. Our daughter comes first.
Right when we were all together outside, we still see the house shaking.
It felt like forever. I was just like, when is this gonna end? Because I've never experienced anything like it.
After standing barefoot in the freezing cold for 45 minutes, the Skiljas venture back inside to assess the damage.
I couldn't believe how much stuff had fallen. Pretty much all of our dishes, glasses, a lot of the stuff hanging on the walls.
But the terror was far from over. Within just 4 days of the initial quake, An astounding 170 aftershocks of varying strength occurred in the region, including a 5.7 shake just minutes after that first jolt.
The aftershocks were insane.
Yeah.
They just kept you on edge for days and weeks. And then the tsunami warnings, because we're right on the ocean, kept letting out just tsunami warning, and you don't know if one was going to come.
You wonder if something bigger is happening, if that makes any sense. Is there a bigger natural disaster that's going to happen? Is the world ending?
Thankfully, the tsunami never happened, but the damage to some of Anchorage's infrastructure was undeniable.
This is crazy.
And while the Skilja family was unharmed, the quake of 2018 still haunts them to this day.
I still have anxiety about it because you never know when the next one's going to come. I definitely felt like it was doomsday. For us, I mean, that was the craziest thing we've ever experienced. So for sure, we felt like that was it. That was the end.
Coming up, a swarming, devastating plague of biblical proportions.
How will we go back to work? How will we put our heads together in a space that makes us feel safe? Avoid fixed costs in a variable world? Or build a business without building an office? How do we go from what wasn't working to what will?
Ancient stories in the book of Exodus recount the 10 plagues God threatened to inflict on Egypt's Pharaoh. They were repulsive, violent, dangerous, and symbolized the end of days. Among them, a bug-like creature with the power of a scorpion who, with its lion-like teeth, could devour anything in its path. The 8th plague, better known as locusts. Is this a sign of the end of the world? February 20th, 2020, Khobar, Saudi Arabia. In the Middle East, which conjures images of deserts, dunes, and sand. But there do exist fertile valleys of plenty, filled with luscious crops. Crops that are under siege because millions, if not billions, of locusts are wreaking havoc and destruction everywhere. Meanwhile, on a highway near Khobar at approximately 4:30 in the afternoon, this car heads into a massive swarm of them without even realizing it.
You're driving along and you're looking up and you're thinking, oh wow, there's a sandstorm. But then you get a little closer and realize this isn't a sandstorm, it's an invasion.
There's something more disgusting about it being insects. I think there's something in our human mind that recoils at the idea of millions of bugs crawling over your body or crawling over your car.
You're thinking, is the world coming to an end? I mean, come on, it's biblical.
In the Bible, locusts are spoken of as this kind of swarm of destruction that comes through and eats a massive crop.
In the book of Exodus, locusts serve as a sign of punishment. In the book of Revelation, locusts constitute one of the plagues that will be visited upon the world as a sign of the end time.
But for those who continued reading, Exodus 10:14 says, "Never before has there been a plague of locusts like this, and there shall never be again." But seeing it and being in the middle of it is definitely scary for sure.
The sky and the highway are dominated by the hovering locusts, and it seems there's no escape.
Sometimes when something seems out of place, it can be hard for our minds to wrap around and to know what we're actually experiencing.
You know, we've seen events like this happen where we've seen these locusts invading an area. A couple years ago, we saw this in Las Vegas. This invasion was so big, it actually showed up on radar.
Interestingly enough, we have learned in recent years that there is no leader in a swarm. We get similar swarms in some species of fish, and you also see the swarming in birds. With those locusts, it is amazing that they can move so fast and through such intricate patterns without bumping into each other.
The group may be safe from the swarm, but the devastation these locusts can inflict cannot be underestimated. In a matter of minutes, locusts can eat through acres and acres of crops, wreaking havoc on the world's food supply.
These locusts have the ability to utterly devastate people's way of life because they destroy everything that they can possibly eat when they swarm through an area.
So it is a doomsday event. It's history reappearing before our very eyes today.
And thanks to Mother Nature, there's a strong chance this won't be the last time these insects come out to play.
Increases in global temperatures lead to increases in extreme weather. So after we have these severely increased rainfalls, we see the locust swarms intensifying, breeding pretty much out of control. So this shows us that the effects of climate change are going to have broad-reaching impacts.
It's a sort of perversion of nature. It's like nature turning against you. And I think the last part of nature that I would want turned against me are bugs.
So, it's doomsday. What would you do if you were caught in a bomb cyclone in the storm of the century?
Oh my God.
Faced with the wrath of a tornado.
Leave that door so I can get in.
Trapped in deadly raging waters. Or the fires from hell. Just hope and pray you live to tell about it.
Oh my God!